Welcome to another episode of What is Going On in the UC. Today we're going to talk about why God is a liberal. Now, I consider myself pretty conservative, so for me to call God a liberal means that I reached that conclusion by the principle. How many laws existed in the Old Testament? That's right, 613. One would have to say, with that many laws, that is not a liberal society. How many laws did Jesus Christ usher in? 2, right? Love God with all thy heart and love thy neighbor as thyself, right? So a little bit more liberal Christianity is than you would say, I guess, Judaism. Even the Catholic Church, Islam, Judaism, there are ways of being more Old Testament and introducing rules and regulations into any religion. Religion can be quite vain, and religion can become quite rigid, especially when it's seen as the end and not a means to some greater end, right? Religion really is good as long as we don't lose sight of that. But anyway, why God is a liberal? Because the question is, how many commandments did God give Adam and Eve? The answer is 1. Now, when God said, of all the trees you may eat, right? He's basically saying, try anything. Go ahead and try anything. And as a parent, I gotta say that God was probably thinking, I believe in my children to survive almost any experience. I think that's what he means. Go ahead and eat anything, you know? Go ahead and try anything. That's an interpretation that I kind of favor and I kind of use. But he says, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, do not eat, for on the day you eat of it, you'll surely die. So this means that, 1, God is pretty daggone liberal. He's not concerned about any kind of experience. Adam and Eve can eat almost any kind, can deal with almost any kind of experience. But sexual immorality, insufferable. Well, God might want to be more liberal, but he has to draw a line right there. It's absolutely insufferable. And it takes us to really study the divine principle to understand why. And we have to study more than the divine principle, because when we read the chapter 2, there's so many Bible quotes in the chapter 2. And the introduction to the divine principle tells us that we have to have well-balanced understanding of truth. We have to have science and religion in order to completely understand truth. So reading a bunch of Bible quotes about the fall is not enough to actually understand the reality of the fall. You know, we have to understand the sociological and psychological implication or impact that sex outside of the marriage covenant, what sex outside of the marriage covenant does to our society psychologically and sociologically, you know. From that perspective, we can see that the crime of sexual immorality has a way of not punishing the person who committed it. The crime of sexual immorality has a way of punishing the descendants of the person who committed it. And, you know, in order for you to learn from a bad behavior, it's a good thing to actually, get your just desserts, immediately. If you do wrong and then something bad happens as a result, it's easy for you to learn. I think God would abide that entire process and look at you and say, son, have you learned yet? So you won't do that again? And you go, no, Daddy, I won't do that again. And God goes, well, then that's good. And God can tolerate, he's very liberal, he can tolerate that entire process. But he cannot tolerate something that where you're going to, as you commit the crime, you are intoxicated by the crime. You don't see anything bad happening as a result of the crime. And even the child who suffers maybe without a mom or dad because there was no commitment, they don't even know why they've missed something in their life, And so it's very hard for people to learn from sexual immorality. And I think that God, foresaw that and warned us not to eat the fruit. So there you have it. To say that God is a liberal is pretty reasonable. But to say that God has nothing that he's conservative about, absolutely ridiculous, because God is extremely conservative about the most precious thing, and that is the throne of new life, the usage of the sexual organ. So, hope you enjoyed that. Talk to you later. Bye.